Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here once again, and we got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. I
We
mean,
sure do.
man, it's going to be a long one. Brace yourselves. So, 2.5 hour pod today. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What can't be done in 25 minutes should not be done.
Oh, then we might as well leave now. But anyway, let's see how this goes. All right. So, I got a confession to make. Oh, well, let's start with introductions. I'm sorry. That's how ready I am to dive right in. Confessions will have to wait just a second. I am JD Nero, aka He Who Pods, aka Rearview Mirror, aka Boy, you should wipe them glasses down.
And I'm Dash. Just Dash today.
Mm. All right, I can make my confession without glasses, and then
Okay.
at some point I'll get the cleaners. So I had zero interest in watching a documentary that came out recently. Zero, not even a little bit. Absolute donut. Nothing. No interest at all. People are like, oh, there's a 3-part doc that came out about America's Next Top Model. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, so? But then I start hearing the streets buzzing about this doc.
Okay.
And then a podcast I listened to spoke about the doc. And then I hit you and was like, you know anything about this doc? He was like, oh, yeah, I watched it. It's nuts. You should watch it. And I'm like, all right. I guess I gotta watch it because then my interest was piqued
Mm-hmm.
and I watched it. In fact, I
You.
did something I normally do not do. I watched all 3 parts in one day, which was hard to do. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But I watched all 3 parts in one day, in one sitting. I ain't take no breaks. I said, let me
Mm-hmm.
just get right to it. Let's get to the proceedings this evening, as Hove would say.
Yep. And how did that work out for you?
Well, I'd like to start by saying I never watched any full season of America's Next Top Model, not even one. I always would catch little bits and pieces here and there, or you're scrolling through the commercials when you were young, and there was such a thing. It's like, oh, I was watching this, and there was a commercial. Let me scroll and see it, and it'd be like, oh, girl, I can't believe you posed like that. I'm like, oh, nah, next, okay, cool. Not my kind of thing. Not a fashion guy. Not a model. Never aspired to be one. Couldn't be one even if I wanted to. It was not my thing.
Okay.
So I came in this just knowing it existed, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. I didn't know there were a billion seasons. I didn't know most of this stuff.
It
So I
left and came
definitely
back. They don't talk much about that in the doc, but it left. It was gone. And then it came back on VH1, I think.
okay. See, that's what I was waiting for them to say because I remembered it being
They
on
never addressed
VH1,
it.
but
But it wasn't always. It started on UPN, which is what they
which
say,
which they which is what they
but they
say, right?
never really addressed the fact that it went on hiatus, I believe, and then went to VH1. Because I'm not familiar with the later seasons of the show. I think I stopped, I don't think I watched it when it went back to VH1. Maybe I watched it for one season.
Mhm.
I was locked in up until then. But it started out on a completely different, it started out on broadcast television
Right.
and then moved to cable.
And so that's what's interesting. That was the first thing for me that I'll be honest, I'm glad you said that because I was like, well, when are they going to say that the reruns ran on VH1? Because that's what I started thinking as they kept talking about UPN. I'm like, oh, so maybe what I saw on VH1 was just reruns.
No, I mean they probably did. It probably was syndicated, but I, no, there were new seasons ran on VH1. I mean, I'll fact check that, but I don't think I'm wrong about that.
Hmm.
Um, I love how I said I'll fact check that and went to Wikipedia. I think that's really
That's not
funny.
fact checking.
It's fine. Do you know who was involved with this that no one talked about in the doc?
No.
Kenya Barris.
Really?
Yes.
Why
Kenya
nobody
Bar-
said that?
I don't know, but
Why
the
didn't
exec
give her any?
it says created by Tyler Banks, who also serves as an executive producer, and developed by Ken Mock and Kenya Barris.
That was not mentioned at all.
No, and I mean we know Kenya Barris has been doing TV for a million years, so there's a lot of things that he was involved in that people probably didn't. If you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't have noticed. But I think people know
Right,
him
but if
now
you're doing a
more.
doc, that should be mentioned in the doc. Right?
Yeah, I don't recall them saying his name ever in the doc.
They did not. They did not.
Um, Okay, here's where this is why I went to Wikipedia because I figured I could get the information quickly. It says the first 6 seasons, referred to as cycles, aired on UPN before UPN merged with the WB to create the CW in 2006. The following 16 cycles aired on the CW until the series was first canceled in October 2015. The series was revived in 2016 and has been airing on VH1 ever since.
Mm.
So it's still technically a current VH1 show. I mean, when did the last season? I'm curious about. Season 24 came out in 2018.
Okay.
But apparently, it's still technically, like, I guess the show is not technically canceled.
Well, no, because spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't seen it, they don't end it with this, but towards the end of the doc, they say season 25 is coming out.
Yeah.
Tyra makes sure to say, "You're not gonna believe what we got coming for season 25."
Right. And I was floored by that. After hearing everything that you heard in the documentary, after seeing all the frustrations shared by the models, and after Tyra Banks, I don't know, skirting a lot of what happened, not she basically says, I mean, I know we're not in it quite yet, but she basically says, you know, you should right your wrongs and people, you know, take what has happened here as advice to go along your own way and do things differently, and just it was just so weird. And it was like, you all of these things happened, you're that eager to do this again. I I said this to a friend of mine, and they were like, well, maybe she's trying to she is trying to right her wrongs with a cycle 25. I don't know.
Sometimes things are over, and people just won't let them go.
Yeah.
It's okay for things to be over. It's okay to just say, "Hey, man, it was good while it lasted. Let's ride off into the sunset."
Yeah. I think she has this. What I think is admirable about her is that she has this drive and she has this motivation to do many things, to be business savvy, to, you know, make money, to do whatever it takes. I think I admire that work ethic, but I also think that it's that same work ethic that she's confusing with, like, take a page out of Glorilla's book. At the end of the day gotta end. At some point, you gotta call it. And I think she's on some, in some weird way. She seems a little dead inside to me, but in some weird way, she's like, well, I've got to show them. She says it about her entire career. When people tell her no, or when a door closes, she opens another one. or she finds a way where there's no way. And I think this is some sick upside down way of her trying to like defy the masses by saying,
Mm.
"Oh, you didn't like this and you said this wasn't right, so I'm going to do it anyway." That's the way that came across to me when she announced Cycle 25. I was like, "Okay, this is like a kind of a personality thing for her where she feels like if she's told no, she has to break through that door." And I feel like this is the same thing where she's thinking, "Okay, people don't like what I did and people are not okay with it, but I think I did something great and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not going to let anybody tell me that I shouldn't do it anymore." I feel like that's what this is. And it's kind of sick when you think about all of it wrapped up in a bow.
Yeah. So let's talk about all of it. Episode 1 paints the picture of this awesome dream that
Mhm.
she had to change the modeling industry, to pull the curtain back and show people the behind the scenes of the model's
Mhm.
life, of the life of a model, and what it takes to be a model. And throughout the doc, we see how that evolved, or maybe metamorphosized is a better way to say it, but it mutated into
Mhm.
something else. Um, and along that mutation, we see all of the odd, fucked up, and weird things that happen along the way.
Mhm.
Uh, we see friendships destroyed. We see lives destroyed. We see smiles destroyed, arguably.
Smiles.
Uh, Smiles.
Oh,
Oh, we get a lot of bragging. Holy shit, a lot of bragging. I mean,
she's very proud.
If you let Tyra Banks tell it, not only did they break down every door, but they did everything first. And
Yeah.
uh
That's
and I
part
guess
of that's part of her downfall. That's what I think. I think it's almost narcissistic. And I don't like to use that word because I feel like people use it incorrectly, but
they do.
it's giving that to me. Like almost like I don't think she's dumb. I just think she's vapid. I don't know.
I think things are layered. I think it can be true that you guys did a lot of things first. I think it
Absolutely.
can be true that you created a phrase so popular it's in the dictionary. It's now part of your brand, all of those things. I think that those things can be true.
Yeah.
And it can also be true that you guys did a lot of fucked up shit to people.
Yep.
And it can also be true that you guys kind of just didn't give a fuck about lives or careers, just ratings. And it can also be true that you were the number one show for a long time. A lot of things can be true at the same time because it's a layered conversation.
Yep.
And I think that's the part that's being missed. I think it's like, I think there are two things we saw a lot throughout this doc
Mhm.
from Tyra.
Mhm.
I think we saw one, I was trying to change the world and break barriers.
Yes.
And not only did I do it, but I did it well. I think that's number one. I think number two, what we get is Tyra says without saying multiple times on this doc, to make an omelet, sometimes you got to crack a few eggs.
Yes. What did she? What was the thing she kept saying? Sacred cows.
No sacred cows.
No, no sacred cows. I was like, girl,
That's what they told her from up top.
right? And I feel like she made it her own. I feel like
Yeah.
it wasn't just them anymore. She
I
was
would not be
like,
surprised if no sacred cow merch is coming.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
No
And the whole
sacred
crack
cows.
the eggs thing, part of that, which I guess is like a subcategory of that for Tyra, is clearly like It appears to me that Tyra feels like, hey, the shit I went through is bananas. Y'all can't even compare to the shit I've been through. Because a lot of the things that were being said, I don't like using a lot on podcast anymore. There were several times when things were brought up, and that was the attitude that she gave. And a couple of times she said it verbatim. It was like, this what you think is tough? This what you think is challenging? Do you know what I went through? And the Jays kind of had some of that too.
They did. Nigel too.
The Jays also kind of had like, hey dog, you got it kind of easy. Be thankful. And I think the Jays had it at a much smaller scale than Tyra, but there are some times when they had it too. There's so much to cover here. We're already over 10 minutes in. What do you want to cover from this lengthy 3-hour docu series? I don't even know what they call it anymore.
Okay, so I think one of the big themes is that some of the stuff that they did seemed abusive and unethical.
Okay.
So I think that's a theme that we can cluster a lot of things together there.
Sure.
There were the boundaries that they would cross when it came to physical appearance, and they went from I remember I was watching it religiously for years. I remember in the beginning, it was just about, oh, we're going to change your hair color. Oh, we're going to fluff up your eyebrows or make them slimmer. Or we're going to, you're a brunette. We're going to make you a bleach blonde. I do remember Ebony, and they didn't know what to do with Ebony. And so they just cut all her hair off. There was that, which was awful. When you think about, in hindsight, like rewatching it when they showed the clip, and then also just hearing her talk about her experience in that, I'm sure there's many Black women who have encountered going somewhere or doing something where they need either hair or makeup done, and white people just don't know what to do with them. And so this was like, I feel like, I don't know what they should have done in that situation. She didn't have a whole lot of hair to work with, but I think that they just completely gave up, and I think that's what happens sometimes, that there's just no interest in trying to figure it out or bringing in someone who can do something interesting or someone who knows how to do Black hair. So there is that. There was Danny having to close her gap, and then finding out.
Can't leave Ebony without talking about Ashy.
Oh my gosh, how could I forget? Yeah, so telling Ebony that she was ashy. I was listening to a podcast as well, and the host made the point of, she is a Black woman from Harlem who grew up in a hair salon. You really think that lady was ashy? Like, let's think about it for a second. There ain't no way she wasn't buttered up every day. It just doesn't compute. It just doesn't make sense. If you understand Black women, if you understand, like, and listen, I come up here and I say that my hands are ashy, and I tell y'all the truth, right? Completely different situation, especially knowing she was on television. Yeah, I don't believe. And then when you look back at the clips with her in it, she doesn't look ashy at all. She actually looks. I couldn't believe. First of all, this is what upset me, because I was like, Tyra Banks, why was I watching this and not realizing all of the nonsense? Tyra said something like, as a Black woman, your skin should only be buttery. I was like, is that true? What?
She said.
Do you think that Black women don't have skin problems? What are you talking about? I was so confused. I was like, hello, eczema. You know how many Black people have eczema? Anyway, my point is, Tyra is... I feel like Tyra was living on another planet. We talk a lot of times about people being out of touch.
Tyra's definitely out of touch then and now.
Then and now.
Yes.
Um,
Which I understand. I don't approve, but I understand because Tyra was a supermodel. She wasn't no regular person when the show started. She
no.
was what they now would say her. She was top. She was up there.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we talking about Beyonce before Beyonce. Like that's kind of person Tyra was. Like she was a huge figure. Today maybe it's different, but she was a top dog
Yeah.
before this. So it's not like she started the show and she was still working at a diner trying to make ends meet. Nah, Tyra was paid. Tyra had contracts. Tyra was popping.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think she ever. I think the parts of. Okay, let me back up. I said something similar to you off camera, where I said that it's like those sometimes you encounter in your life at your own age, whatever that age may be, and a person who is older than you, someone you would consider an older person, like at least 10 years your senior or more. And there are some you meet who don't see your struggles as struggles or
Mm-hmm.
see what you perceive as your struggles as struggles,
Mm-hmm.
and they make light of your struggles and say that you have to pay your dues,
Yeah, it
or
was a lot of that.
yeah. And even when Nigel, when they talked about, and I'm sure we'll get into Shandy, but even when they talked about the situation with Shandy and just like the men coming over and whatever, Nigel said something like, well, models hang out with photographers or something like that, or models hang out with other talent or whatever, however he said it. But he was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, that's what happens. So what?
Yeah.
And I think I think those things might be true, but at the same time, you guys were in a confined, they were in a confined environment to a certain extent. They were under the supervision is the wrong word, but they were a part of this production.
Mm-hmm.
All of you were. And so you're not acting in within those parameters. You are not acting as you would normally. Everything is not as it is in real life. I think they tried to tell themselves that. I think they tried to make that the reality, but everybody was a part of this production. And they to me they act like this was the real world. My thing is, if y'all are not acting like it all the time, then because they very much say, oh, these women are having real world experiences, but then they turn around and say, well, but you're on a reality show. Which one is it?
That's why I never really fucked with reality television. Because as you
Yeah.
see, as the doc continues, and I know we said we're going to go through the horrible things, but just responding
Yeah.
to what you said, what you see as the show continues, the doc continues, and the show, because that's what they're showing us, you see that it becomes less and less about people, more and more about creating compelling television.
Yeah.
And that's what reality TV is. There's a lot less reality in the reality TV world than people think.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that I have never really liked because yeah, we were young enough to be around when the first season of Real World aired. Were we adults? No. But we were around. We were able to watch it. And sure, that arguably was the first one, right? But as we grew older, as reality television, I guess, matured is the way to say it, that shit got worse and worse and uglier and more about antics to gain ratings than whatever the mission was supposed to be for the show, allegedly. And so it's no different with this. It's no different with America's Next Top Model. They all said it. Hey, when we got the such and such cycle, they started asking us how we gonna top last season. When we got the such and such cycle, they said we had to push the envelope more. You know, Tyra said at one point, yeah, I started looking around, and you know what was really popular at the time? Like this show called Fear Factor. So we had to figure out how to incorporate something like that into our show. Dog.
Eva Marcille, who would go on to do a bunch of other things. Eva's not in the doc, and they don't talk about Eva. I do think they showed Eva's photo when they said the Fear Factor thing, because one of the best photos to come out of America's Next Top Model is Eva with a spider on her hand, I think, or her face.
Oh yeah, I saw that picture. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting that Eva is not involved with this. She's also, got other things going on. So that's probably why. But she's one of the few people who actually has had a real career since the show. This seemed like a place that model dreams went to die.
Absolutely.
Which is really, really unfortunate.
Yeah,
I mean, we got Winnie Harlow out of it. We got like a bunch of. There's again, Eva. Eva was a big deal. There's several women who left and made careers for themselves, but most of them didn't.
Well, I was about to say, isn't it just a handful? Because that's when they were like, "Well, we got monsters out here. We got huge champion supermodels out here." I was like, "Oh, okay. Who you got?" And then they named like 4 people, and I was like, "Oh, that's not a lot."
No, it's not. It's not. It's not a lot.
Because if you did 20 seasons, or 24 seasons, and 4 people are popular, that's a really bad ratio, and that's just off winners.
Yeah.
That's just off winners. Then you count everyone involved every season. Yeah, that percentage is teeny tiny.
Right. Because you think about something like American Idol, where different talent, right? But there are a lot of people who left American Idol and had careers. They didn't win, but they still were able to thrive. And maybe American Idol was respected a lot differently in its industry than America's Next Top Model was. Like but
because homegirl who won, she said she was living in the model house and couldn't get gigs.
Yeah, which she prefers to be called Danielle now, but Danielle, and that one was kind of heartbreaking just because of when she described the conversation she had with Tyra years later. And Tyra was like, "Oh yeah, I knew you weren't going to have much of a career because of the show, but
I should have did more
to help you."
Right.
And it was like, I don't know why you would tell somebody. Like, I don't know why and that's why I say there's a certain level of narcissism here, because I don't know what was your end goal in telling this lady that you could have helped her but you didn't.
I don't know. They have since had an exchange online, by the way.
Oh really? I did not know this.
Since the doc came out, Danny responded again to Tyra, basically saying Tyra's lying and fuck you. She calls her out and says specific things. I don't have the tweet, but it was a tweet.
And Tyra said
nothing.
Oh, I thought when you said they had an exchange, I thought there was like a back and forth that happened.
Oh, Tyra put out a statement, and then she responded to the statement.
Okay.
Sorry, I guess I should have led with that. Anyway, listen, closing gaps and then opening gaps. It was really fucked up and weird.
Very weird. Like, why are you messing with these people's physical appearance? Like, okay, fine, physical appearance, yes, you're modeling, but teeth and It's just weird shit.
It's a lot of weird shit. What's the other thing? We're gonna get to Shandy at some point, but um, oh, can't forget the race swaps.
I remember the race swaps. And I
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
I don't know the answer. Is
Okay.
Tyra not fully black?
Tyra, as far as I know, is fully black.
Because what was fucking me up when I watched it was, and I don't know, I didn't know the answer before you were saying it, but what was fucking me up was like, as a fully black person, why would you want white people to be black? Don't you know, like, they be wanting to be black real bad? One of them even said, like, oh my God, I always thought this would be cool, or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, they were thrilled. It was actually really awkward to watch now because I guess in watching it years ago, it never really occurred to me how gleeful they were about it. They also were probably, just to be fair, they were probably told to be gleeful about everything. If you notice, you watch certain reality shows that are competition shows, the reactions are very specific. If you watch The Bachelor, every time they tell them they've got to go wrestle around in mud or some shit like that, they all get so excited and go, "Oh, can't wait!" You really? Are you excited about that? Some of them probably aren't, but I think they're told the same way if you go to a talk show and they tell you when to clap, they tell you when to laugh. I'm
Right.
pretty sure some of that was happening here.
Sure.
They were told to be enthusiastic, but I just felt like it was so gleeful their reaction to to being told you're gonna be an Asian lady today, or you're a white woman who's going to look like a black woman today. We're going to paint your face black. What?
It's crazy. And Tyra kept saying it was different times. That's true. But some of that shit was fucked up no matter what time it was.
I agree. I agree.
Like like
Blackface is
like
never
race
okay.
swaps.
Brown face, never okay. Like painting people's. It's one thing if you said you wanted them to look culturally relevant, and they said, I don't know, they were
Give
gonna
the
have
blondes braids.
right, or you were gonna have. It's kind of like what we talk about when Halloween rolls around. The Read podcast is really good at describing it. They do it every year, where they say you can be Lauren Hill for Halloween. What you cannot do is paint your face black to look like Lauren Hill. But if you want to put two braids in your hair or you want to wear an afro wig, questionable. But you want to wear an afro wig, you want to dress like she dresses, that is okay. There's a fine line, but
Tyra
that
crossed all the lines.
but that's what I'm saying. Like
Like
I
if
don't
my
understand
mother
why
was
they didn't
shot,
just do that.
yeah. Like if my mother was shot in the head or shot at all,
Wild. 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 But that's when you knew they were doing it for television. That's when you knew. And that poor girl was like, it didn't even occur to me until years later that this was intentional. And I was like, ooh, girl, I'm so sorry that you did not realize because to
they
me,
were
that
fucked
was the
up.
most obvious thing they did.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucked up shit in that show. They did a lot of fucked up shit
Yeah.
to people. But the interesting thing is, I think the challenge is ethics versus business, right?
Uh huh.
There are people who believe to be a good business person, you just gotta crush all competition, crush anyone in your path, and completely demolish everything in sight to get to the top. And I understand that train of thought. But then you cannot say things that are the opposite. Like you can't be doing all the shit they were doing and be like, but we're changing the world. But we're making modeling a better place. We're we're
Uh-huh.
we're gonna break down barriers. Yo,
Right.
dog, just say nothing. Like Coca-Cola don't come out and be like, we're gonna change the world, y'all. It's gonna be a beautiful place. They don't do that shit. They just keep putting out new flavors. And if people complain enough, then they do some shit like, okay, you know what? You right. You don't want fake sugar in our shit? No problem. Coke with real sugar. Bam. Oh wait, that got too much sugar? Okay, don't worry. Coke Zero now in stores. But Coca-Cola don't be out here like, hey man, we're gonna make the world such a good place. You know, we're gonna make soda drinkers around the world healthier. They don't say none of that shit. They
Or when they
just keep
do things that are
doing
positive.
business.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the difference. So some of the critiques that Tyra clearly didn't like, but Tyra, you out here saying and still saying, because she's still like, yeah, but there's plus size models because of me. And there's influencers because of me. And there's blah 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 blah. Okay. But you were saying things that were the opposite. And by the way, Tyra, boo boo, sweetheart, honey chicken biscuit, there are not influencers because of you.
No.
I'm sorry to tell you that. I know that probably hurts to hear, but it's not because of you.
And the first plus size model started her career in 1989. Just so that we're clear. Yeah. So I'm not saying she didn't help open the door for some of them. Maybe she did, but also Tyra, no. And the way you talk to some of these women, the way they talk to some of these women,
Yeah.
just kind of so disheartening. I don't know. I struggled with it. My part of the problem. I watched so many seasons of this show, and granted, I started watching when I was, I guess, in high school because I had watched it from the beginning. I can't say that I knew better when I was watching it. I don't
Okay.
recall. There was a journalist in the documentary who was like, well, she was watching it. I assume she's a bit older than me, but she was watching it and she said, she would call her friend up and be like, "Do you see this happening?" One, I think a lot of people were saying, "Do you see this happening?" but still watching it, which happens a lot with reality television. But
Of course.
also, I don't think I was watching it and thinking everything that happened was so heinous at the time. I think I was just watching it for the entertainment value, which is what they wanted.
Yeah.
But it left me feeling like, man, was am I a part of the problem? Because I couldn't even I didn't have the information, I feel like, to say that some of this stuff was wrong. I guess in hindsight, I really didn't know. They were like, "This is how you treat models, and this is what happens when you put models in a house." And so we all ate it up, and including myself. In hindsight, I'm like, if I would watch something like this on TV now, I would be like, this is completely ridiculous because I'm older and I'm more experienced and have more information to back up my opinions. And I have opinions at this point where maybe before I really didn't. I think the hardest part about watching the documentary, though, and I know we got to get back to Shandy, that's probably like our last big thing, but Tyra Banks just didn't hold herself accountable. None of them did. None of them did. I don't think she's the only person to blame here. I think everybody's to blame, especially that the head of the network or whoever the lady was. I don't remember her name at the moment, but
Yeah.
it is unscrupulous to be in the business they are in. At least for some people, for a lot of people, I think. I think in order to be able to produce reality, you have to exploit. I don't know how many reality shows exist where it doesn't exploit.
Well, I want to go on record and say, if you ever decide you no longer want to do weeknights, I will not email you 3 words and then be fake on camera.
Oh, that was rough.
Tyra
Some
Banks is a
papers is
piece of shit.
burned. Huh?
Tyra Banks is a piece of shit. Now, let me just say something.
Okay.
He handled it wrong. Email is not the
Agree.
way to go about this with your best friend. If this is your
Agree.
best friend, if this is your close friend, email is not the way to do this.
I agree.
So, yeah, he fucked up. But to treat this man like just staff all of a sudden, that's really fucked up. And it's even more fucked up to leak that you're firing these people, which I believe was Tyra. And even if you want to say
Oh, yeah,
that's fine,
absolutely.
even if you want to say that wasn't Tyra, it was the network or whatever, all right, cool. But when Homeboy
Tyra
had a
was the
stroke,
network at that point.
when Homeboy had a stroke,
And you didn't
and
go
you
see
didn't come
him
visit him
or like give him a real phone call,
or give him a phone call
send him some
or
flowers.
anything, dog, Tyra is a piece of shit. Because if they only had a business relationship, I wouldn't be saying this. But these were two people who you are on record saying, "Yo, these my real friends at this point."
Oh
And
yeah.
and maybe Miss J, we didn't hear that so much.
But she said Miss J, she had known Miss J since she was like 16, 17 years old. I don't
And
even
that's what
think
I was
it
about to say.
matters so much how close they were in friendship. Like maybe Miss J wasn't the one she was having sleepovers with and things like that, but Miss J was someone who it appeared, at least when the show first started, that she had a lot of respect for.
It seemed
And I
like that
think
was a mentor
that
and a
respect
friend.
should guide you.
Yeah, it seemed like this was a mentor and friend, and that's not how you treat a
Yeah.
mentor or a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all, I'm
Shandy.
all, yeah. I was just about to say I'm always confused when people treat that type of relationship like that, but I don't know if there's more there. Shandy. Okay. So the big story that came out of the documentary that people are the main thing I think that people are talking about is this issue with Shandy from Cycle 2. Shandy comes
Had a
on.
boyfriend.
Shandy has a boyfriend. She's on the show. They go to Milan, and as part of, I think they said they were like moped drivers that they had done a photo shoot with, and they invited the guys to come back to.
No, no. Everywhere they had to go that day, the guys were their drivers. Each woman
Oh,
had
okay.
chosen a guy, and that guy was their driver for the day.
Okay.
So they had been all around town doing stuff for the show, and
Hmm.
every time that's who your driver was on the mopeds.
Right. I think they had to do ghosties for in that episode. So someone invites the guy. It's not clear who, but someone
The
invites the
girls
guys.
decide because it was
Okay.
more than one. Hmm.
Okay. They invite the guys back to where they're staying to hang out. They hang
Yep,
out. They get in the hot tub.
they're
Shandy,
drinking.
they're drinking. Shandy declares that she's had 2 bottles of wine. She's drinking. She starts making out with the guy in the hot tub. There's a lot of touching and whatnot in the hot tub. It then moves to, I don't remember, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember if her and the guy were in the shower together.
Mhm.
But it
So
moves
it's
to,
referenced, but we don't see it.
right. But they moved to the shower, I guess. It didn't appear that they were doing anything in the shower but showering.
Well, we were told that there were things happening in the shower.
Right. So we also didn't see everything that happened because it's a show and it's edited and whatever, but
Right.
from her account of what happened, it then moved to the shower and then to the bed.
So she
And you
says she
see,
barely remembers the shower.
well, she says she doesn't remember anything after the hot tub.
Right. She says she remembers being in the shower. She remembers him being on top of her, and that at some point sex was happening. But that's it.
She says she couldn't even feel it.
Right. She
She
says she
just
was
knew.
blacking. She was blacked out. She was in and out of consciousness. This is what she says, and so the doc makes it seemingly clear that this was SA, that the show did nothing, the network did nothing. We then hear from multiple people that there were rules set up with the network and the way the show was run. That if you go to the bathroom by yourself, no problem, no cameras. But if you go into the bathroom with someone else, cameras will follow you in and record everything.
Mhm.
Then there is the issue of Tyra seemingly scolding her.
Yeah. Tyra comes on
And
and go ahead.
yeah,
Tyra shows up and basically says something about cheating. It should be noted too that Shandy was hysterical. The next morning she wakes up, she's hysterical. She's curled up in a ball in the fetal position. She is just inconsolable.
right,
They then go. They're at a cafe or a bistro, whatever, wherever they were, and Tyra comes up. She starts talking to them about infidelity and telling them that she had a boyfriend that cheated on her, and she feels like people shouldn't cheat, and people have carnal instincts, and they shouldn't give in to their carnal instincts. If they feeling that way, or they just flirt, they should just flirt and go home and be with their person, and whatever. So they basically try to big sis the situation and have her
right.
come
Which is
in
not
and
which is not Tyra's job.
no, but okay, for context, I think she was doing that throughout the show for different reasons, like where she'd
Okay.
come in and have conversations with them. Now, the motive behind it probably changed from situation to situation, but I think she was doing things like that throughout the show, throughout the series. But yeah, she comes in and says, well, it's awkward because she doesn't actually address what happened right away. She just starts telling this story, and then she basically says to Shandy, she finally turns to her and says, don't beat yourself up about it. These things happen. You just have to do better next time, or something like that. She says
Right. And then she's basically forced to tell her boyfriend on camera.
she's forced to tell her boyfriend on camera. She's also forced to call the guy and ask him if he had been tested for STDs or if he has any STDs or anything like that.
And did he use protection?
And did he use protection?
And then they take her to the doctor, which was probably the one good thing that came of all of this.
Right. Also, I think I think taking her to the doctor is an admission of guilt. Um, I think that this is a very nuanced conversation, and
Well, then we should talk about what has come out since the doc.
yes, because again, I think it's still, I think all of it is nuanced, but oh no, please, you I feel like you can explain this part better than I can.
Since the doc, the internet has been investigating many of the claims that women made in the doc. And so they're going back and finding footage of those cycles, finding things that people said differently and did differently than the narratives that were painted in the doc. And the one that has come up and is The clip and interviews they did afterwards is Shandy. Shandy is saying, I don't have the clip, I am going to paraphrase, but Shandy is saying, oh, they invited dudes over? Awesome. Because I had 2 bottles of wine and I'm horny. Boyfriend or not, I'm fucking someone tonight. And that footage has surfaced. People have found it. They also found
Is that
her
what
in
she
a.
said? I don't think what
I
she said
mean,
was that direct. And I don't think she said I have a boyfriend and I'm fucking someone tonight.
What do you guys think about inviting them over for dinner and like drinks? We were like, duh. Okay. Yes, especially because like the guy that drove me around was so hot and we had such a great connection, but he didn't end up showing up. It was like the other guys, so I was a little disappointed at first. Very different. And then because it was also like, testosterone that like people like dudes that we can. And they're super. It's an all male college, so just imagine my struggle. Yeah, and they were so nice. So, I don't think I ate that night, and then I think I had 2 bottles of wine by myself. And then somebody's like, "Oh, whoa, the hot tub works." What? What are you talking about? And then they were like, "Oh, let's get in." And so like and then I see like Mercedes, and and you know what's crazy is April, Mercedes had this conversation before we got in of like, let's behave ourselves. So this is fucked up. Yeah. And then like I looked at this dude, he looked at me, and he just like grabbed me, and I was like, let's do this. And then April's like, I gotta go, I have a boyfriend, bye. Which is what I said. This is very different. And then, so one of her homegirls left because she had a boyfriend. She just said what I should have said. I said bye. I was still more to this, but I don't need to play.
It sounds like she wanted to do whatever she wanted to do with the guy. That is clear. It sounds like going into it, she wanted to do whatever she wanted to do with the guy. I think there is a question of where does consent start and end that is attached to this conversation, and that's why I say it's nuanced. Because according to the people listening to that, consent happened before the actual act. And so that means that she was fully consenting. My understanding of consent is that consent can start and end at any point. I could get in a bed with someone and I could decide that I no longer want to do what I said I wanted to do with them before we got in the bed.
Absolutely agree.
I think my understanding of this is that when Shandy's in the bed, Shandy can no longer consent because she doesn't have her faculties to do so. I agree with that too. I think that's where this conversation, this whole she wanted it and women are tricky and all of that. I think that's where I get uncomfortable because I'm like, well, at what point wasn't it okay? And is the thought process here that all of it was okay? Because maybe some of it was her. I truly believe when she was in the hot tub, I felt like she was into it, and I saw that, and I said that when I first watched it. I was like, okay, but that's why everybody had the idea, or a lot of people had the idea that she was consenting. But then she's saying she doesn't even remember getting in the bed. You don't remember getting in the bed? You couldn't consent to sex. That's where I think it gets nuanced for me.
There's a lot of problems with this situation. First, in the doc, she says, I didn't eat and I drank 2 bottles of wine. That's irresponsible.
Absolutely.
That's not how you take care of yourself.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, she had a boyfriend and clearly wanted to cheat. We heard the audio. That's problem number two. Problem number 3, everyone was drinking. We saw the footage of everyone drinking when the guys got there. So no one can have a real conversation because they're not sober. Now, what level of intoxicated everyone was, I don't know. I didn't watch the episode. I saw the doc. So I don't know how, they never say how inebriated he was. The focus is how inebriated she was. And this is where the next problem comes. Because levels of intoxication change everything. Excuse me. And that's where things get really beyond tricky. They get murky. Because yes, we heard the audio. She planned on cheating. We heard the audio. She was definitely going to cheat. Cool. I'm with all of that. But this is why I don't fuck strangers when we are inebriated. Because problems come. She didn't get sick. She didn't get pregnant. And if she did, they took care of it when they took her to the doctor. For that, that's probably the best outcome here, is what I'm trying to say. That's great. But the things that happen in the middle, yeah, they're tricky. They're muddy. They're weird. They're fucked up. As a man, no, I don't think you should be fucking people who are completely out of it. I don't. But he don't even know this woman. And you don't know, as the other person, not every time. Sometimes you can tell, sometimes you can't. But you don't know every time how much in control of themselves is this drunk person. Because once you're drunk, you probably shouldn't be having any decision making happen. So all of this is a problem. Should someone from the show have gone in there and stopped things? Probably, yes. That would have been the most ideal, to say, hey, let's stop things here. Y'all could link up tomorrow if you want to be sober and link up tomorrow. But no one did that, which is another problem. Is that the show responsibility? Probably not. I don't know what the paperwork said that they signed. So no, it's probably not their responsibility to go in there and physically stop 2 drunk adults. Probably not. Especially because the people there were just camera people. It wasn't Tyra Banks. It wasn't Miss J. It wasn't none of them.
Well, the production team is there when they're filming. Production,
right? And they called the bosses.
On reality shows, just so we're clear, when they're the players on the reality shows, so Shandy, Danny, all of Ebony, all of those people have handlers when they're on a reality show that are part of production, that are there to make sure that everything is going the way it's going. A lot of times on reality shows, specific people, it's not always one person, it's multiple people, and they get assigned to, like, let's say groups of people on the show, or specific people on the show, so they can be intermediaries if ever needed to do so. A lot of times
it seems like those are the people who called the top dogs, because both of them said they got calls. Tyra said she got called, and I believe photographer Jay said he got calls, if I remember correctly. And if it wasn't him, then it was the other executive producer. Tyra and someone else got a call.
Jay Manuel. Jay wasn't a photographer. He was their creative director.
Okay, sorry. He's had a lot of jobs throughout the course of the doc.
Yeah, that's not Nigel was the photographer. Jay Manuel was the creative director, and then he said, as he said, he turned into talent. They really didn't go to him to make decisions.
In the beginning, he was the photographer before Nigel, because they said they needed a new photographer who was straight and good looking.
Okay.
So it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's 2 people, 2 of the top dogs. My point is, those handlers or whoever on set called top dogs, and neither one of them stepped in. That is a problem. But I don't think this is the picture that was painted in the doc either, is my point.
Okay.
SA, not SA, I don't have that answer anymore. Because watching the doc, I say yes. Hearing this other audio, I don't know. Because I don't know how inebriated the man was. If you're both blackout drunk and you both did some dumb shit, you both did some dumb shit. If he's damn near sober and took advantage of her, totally different. But I don't have that information. I make it a habit not to fuck strangers. That's number one. Number two, I don't fuck drunk strangers because they can't give consent. That's how I look at things. So I can't say anything for anyone else, but that's how I live life. I don't fuck drunk strangers. I try not to fuck drunk people when I'm sober because even someone who you are cool with or have history with, they can say all the same things. They can say, "Hey, I went to Jay's house. I got there and I just was in the neighborhood and needed a place to stay, and I woke up naked in bed with Jay." Well, I don't want to have those problems. So I try not to do any of that. And some people disagree with that, some people don't. I don't know. That's their business. But this how I live life. To me, if somebody's drunk, I just don't fuck them. There's always tomorrow. Will it kill the heat of the moment? Sure. Yes, absolutely. Not going to say I've never done it, but I try not to do those things because it's the risk is not worth the reward. Better to wait till you're both sober tomorrow.
Okay.
What you say about
I
all of
think
the
I,
nuance
I
and
think I said I said that I think it's nuanced, and I think we cannot assume consent because someone said they wanted to sleep with someone, or just because you could go on a date with someone and they could assault you, and you could talk to your girlfriends the an hour before you meet up with the guy and talk about how hot he is and how much you want to sleep with him, and then you could get into the situation and not want to sleep with him anymore.
right, but there was no not want to here. It just that part was never ever said.
But this, okay, we have a woman today telling us that she does not remember getting in the bed with him. That's one. We also are talking about a conversation she had before it happened. That's two. So I guess you're saying it's either we don't know, which is fine. What you don't know what you don't know, or we're just saying that because she said prior to that she wanted to sleep with the guy, that there's no way she could have been assaulted.
That's not what I said. I
I'm
said a
not
lot more
saying
than
that's
that.
what you're saying, but I'm saying I don't know, what do you do about the gap? What do you do about the time or whatever happened that we did not see between her saying she wanted to and her being in the bed and now saying that she doesn't even remember
I'm saying
getting in
that
the
the doc,
bed. I don't, for me, I'm having a hard time with at what point are we have no confirmation of consent other than something that was a conversation beforehand. So then how do we know that there was consent up until the end of it? I guess
we don't we don't know.
that that's where my nuance is. I don't know where that I don't I'm sorry. I'm just having a hard time. Like, I don't want to.
So for you, it's final. She was SA'd. That's it.
I'm no, but first of all, she didn't even use those words.
But the doc, that's
Everyone
what
who
the doc
watched the
is
doc
saying.
has been using those words. That
But
to be
that's because
clear,
that's what the doc is saying without using the words.
right? But she did not use those words. All I'm saying is I can't definitively say anything to your point. There's nothing that we can definitively say. What I can say is that what I believe is that when someone is unable to consent, they are unable to consent.
Okay.
So for me, if that is what she's saying here, that she was unable to consent, then she wasn't. Now, as far as was he, that's also a question, and that's a fair question, and I don't have a problem with that question. But I don't think that I'm the person who gets to sit up here and say what happened to her versus what doesn't. I just I just don't feel that way. I don't When it comes to these situations, they're very difficult. They're very hard to understand. We weren't there. We only saw pieces. Even what gets shown to us is not a full it's not the full cut of what was filmed. They're saying they
Yeah,
filmed that
they say that.
entire night and they cut out a lot of film to show us a couple minutes of what happened.
Yeah, they said that the network said you cannot air this like this. You have to chop this down and edit this differently.
For all we know, it could have looked way worse and it could have looked like she was coerced. We don't know. Or it could have looked like she wasn't. We don't really know. The only people who know are the people who saw that footage or the people who were there that night.
Got
And
it.
what I did take away from the doc is that the lawyers were definitely involved. Tyra was very buttoned up and very polished and had an answer for everything. The producers had an answer for everything. No one seemed to think that anything they did was wrong. I understand that part of that is the machine behind it is making sure that there are certain things that we don't find out, that we don't see. There is
Hmm.
always that. I just don't want to get in the habit of walking around and saying, someone wanted it and brought it upon themselves. Yeah, we all make bad choices sometimes. We're all irresponsible sometimes. It doesn't mean that you should be assaulted. I don't believe that. And that's why I don't want to definitively say what happened to her. I don't think I get to be the person who says that. That's just me. I'm not saying you said anything. I'm just giving my opinion and I'm sharing what I think and what I feel on the matter. And I don't think I saw enough to be able to say she did or she didn't. I I just don't, because I don't believe that consent. Um, I don't believe that consent has an expiration. I really don't. And
And what
I
about her? Oh, sorry, good.
so if that's what I believe, then I can't definitively say, well, she wanted it and that's it, and she drank too much. So what happened to her, and that's her problem. I'm not able to I'm not able to say that.
And the lighthearted, giggling, joking
People giggle and they
recap
joke
sheet.
when they're uncomfortable.
Okay, got it.
They do. I have a I know
Okay.
someone who they could be saying the most awful thing that happened to them and they giggle after they say it. Not
That lady
because
was cracking up laughing in that interview that we heard, and I guess now we have to leave the audio in. But in that interview, she is not the remorseful, crying mess that she is in the doc. She's giggling, she's laughing, she's making it very clear this is what I wanted. She says, I was disappointed that the guy I was riding around with all day didn't show up.
okay. Yeah, and you're right. And I have nothing to I'm not I'm not defending that. I'm just talking about, I think the part that I'm focused on and have been focused on is whether she was able to consent or not. As far as her giggling and laughing and telling the story, I cannot speak for that. If that's what she's saying, if she's singing a different tune and she's saying that's not what happened to her, then that's not what happened to her. I don't because I don't know what to do here. I don't want to victim blame. I don't want to take what someone is saying happened to them and say that it didn't happen. I don't I'm not, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable, to be honest. See, I'm uncomfortable and I laughed. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with any of it, to be honest.
What I'm asking is what you saw her doing and saying in the doc today. Her today, not forget about the footage from that night. The her you see today, is that not a very different her recapping than the her in this interview that we just played? Okay, so but that doesn't, so even though it's different, it doesn't change anything for you because you feel she never was able to give consent.
I just don't know. I'm just saying that I don't know. There's a lot of different, she said a lot of different things.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not like, how do you, there are people who lie about being assaulted, like not that they weren't, but that they were. Like there are people who will say that didn't happen to them and pretend it didn't happen to them, even though it did. There are people who make light of awful things, tragic things happening to them, even though it happened to them. I don't. I feel like I'm being asked to make a decision about something that how could any of us make a decision on what really happened when there's so many holes in what happened?
I'm not asking you to make a decision. I'm asking, does the new information change how you view things after the doc? Because the doc, when I walked away from the doc, I said, this is fucked up. That lady was SA'd and they didn't do anything to stop it. To me, it was clear. It was right. That's the narrative that was painted, and I walked away like, man, poor Shandy, this is fucked up. After hearing that audio, I don't feel the same way. I'm not saying, again, I already said, nobody should have been fucking that night. And when it was happening, they should have stopped it. But I don't still feel the same 100% she was SA'd and it's fucked up. I don't feel that 100% anymore. I feel like, oh, there's a lot we don't know. And that's what I'm asking.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Am I not? I keep saying I don't know. I'm not saying yes or no, and I keep saying I can't make a decision on whether it did happen versus it didn't happen based on.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking, when you walked away from the doc, did you feel 100% she was SA'd? Okay. Today, do you still feel 100% she was SA'd?
I keep saying I don't know.
Okay, fine, no problem.
Why are you saying? I don't understand why you're saying fine. I'm answering your question, and I'm telling you, yes.
You're not.
You're asking me, you're asking me, do I feel definitively the way I did when I walked away from the doc? And I keep saying, no, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I can't say what happened.
Okay, it's fine. We can end the pod and we can keep it moving.
No, okay. Can you just? Maybe I'm not understanding your question. What is your question? Because I feel like I'm answering your question and you're thinking that I'm not answering your question. Because you're saying, 100... I feel like you, just 1 second. I feel like you and I are saying the same thing. You're saying originally you watched the doc and you felt like it was one thing and that was it. And you knew for sure, you felt like, wow, that happened, and you walked away from it. And then you heard this other audio. And now you're saying now you don't know what happened.
I'm saying I no longer 100% believe that that's what happened.
Okay.
I'm asking you, do you still feel 100% that that's what happened? Has the percentage dropped, or is it still 100% this is definitely what happened?
I'm saying no. I don't know what definitely happened. I don't know what happened at this point.
Okay.
I'm saying that there are so many holes. There are so many different conversations happening. Like there's so many different things that came out of this, whether it be the perspective of the people who were on the show, to her perspective, to the audio that I listened to just the rewatching some of the footage. I don't really know what happened at this point. And I answered as well. No, what she previously said versus what she said on the doc do not match. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to think. I don't know. I just don't know.
Got it. Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our pod. I guess we're doing Jill Scott tomorrow because we definitely don't have time today. Thank you for being here. Feel free to put all your many thoughts in the comments. We gave you a lot of ours. See you next time.
Bye.